Hello, my name's Victor Ortiz. I'm a fifth year here graduating from Woodbury University in the architecture department, and I'm from Santa Barbara, California. My family's trade is landscape, and so I grew up around people who work with their hands and have an appreciation for beauty in the natural world. I grew up surfing and skating, which is, I think, where I got my obsessive tendencies from, which has served me well in the studio practice. I am asked often what got me into architecture, and I don't always have an answer for it, and I think it's because I kind of lucked into it. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I'm happily surprised by it. People compare architecture and art, but art doesn't necessarily have to have a rhyme or reason to it, whereas architecture needs to have a reason for every decision, essentially. School never really came easy to me. I was never really the best student by any means. The studio practice allows you to become obsessed with solving problems. That obsession is kind of something that I've always had, so I've been able to channel that into my studio work. Tendency that I have to become obsessed and training myself to harness it and use it effectively, how to put it to use essentially, has been probably like the most important thing that's happened to me in my life up until this point. Heather Peterson really encouraged us to design through making, which is where I definitely excel, is in making and using my hands. It was really fun to kind of design that way. We kind of did it backwards, where we started with building things and mocking things up, and then we went into the computer towards the end of the semester to kind of make some drawings for the final presentation, which is different because most studios, it's the opposite, where you're working in the computer a lot and then at the end you kind of like build a physical thing. The studio practice is an iterative process where you make something that you really like, and then your instructor comes in with a big fat red marker and crosses it out. And to be successful in studio, you have to become numb to that and remove your ego from your work. So there's been a ton of failure and a bit of success. For thesis, I'm in Matthew Gillis's section. It's called Always Already Architecture. The objective of the studio was essentially to really do whatever we wanted, but our site where we are situating the building had to be at a water's edge. So dealing with how a building meets the water, or how water interacts with the building, is what the studio is all about. I love the Sierra Nevadas. I spent a lot of time out there rock climbing, fishing, hiking. I mean, that's where the project kind of started, was just researching that landscape and that environment and seeing what the potential could be there. I was doing a lot of map studies using aerial photography and ArcGIS to kind of build these maps, and also just studying the environmental conditions, which include these massive carcinogenic dust storms that kick up out on the dry lake bed. The problem of the thesis is, how do you deal with these dust storms? The building essentially that I've designed casts these massive 1,000-foot sails that capture this dust, and the dust falls and builds these berms out on the lake bed. Different notions of time and how architecture erodes over time and how materiality deals with that. That's what's so cool about the studio practice, is you come in with these preconceived notions of what your project's gonna be. Like, you know, I started in the fall, like, already having an idea in my head of like, okay, this is like how I'm gonna operate on the site. This is kind of the scale of building that I'm gonna be dealing with, which is, I like things to make sense. I tend to not lean into the absurdness of reality as much as others do, but I think I found something really valuable in that this semester specifically, like really making myself uncomfortable in having a kind of absurd studio project, because it's not about it being all buttoned up in this like pretty thing at the end. You want to be able to see the struggle with an idea in the work, and that's like what makes it human. So the sky is really the limit with what you can pursue and do in the studio. So when I realized that there is no end to it, essentially, like a project is never finished, it's really up to you how hard and how far you want to push it, which is what I think makes it what I love about it the most, because it's like you're chasing the dragon, you know? You just go as far as you can, you know? So plans in the short term, I definitely want to start practicing at a firm. I want to move back to Santa Barbara, it's my home. So I want to start working there. Long-term goal is to be a licensed architect one day. You can't legally call yourself an architect till you are a licensed architect in California or whatever state you're in. So that's high on my priority list for the future. And yeah, I think at some point, it's hard to grasp it now, but one day I would like to own my own practice and work for myself. All my family works for themselves and they all own their own businesses, and I'd like to follow in their footsteps in that regard. Congratulations to our graduating cohort. All of those hours and all that time put in has got us to here today. And my message to you all is be proud of today and be proud of all the work you put in. It's made you who you are today. These last 5 years have affected us all in many different ways. And yeah, my hope is that you all go out into the world being proud of the work that you did here at Woodbury.